Especially for Hero, Michael Parmenter reprised his spectacular show, A Long Undressing.
Dance is a way that I have come to try and reconcile various elements in my life. It's like the image that I use in the show quite a bit is the image of the fault line and the movement when two incompatible things sort of come together and you've got to sort of move about to keep them balancing. So often in my dance I've tried to explore extremes. Sometimes sections of the dance are incredibly ecstatic and joyous, and other times are really sort of despairing or darker sides. And for me, dance is a way of trying to keep these polarities in some sort of relationship and not going all one way without still keeping a little bit of a hold of the other.
Learn to trust another person, another dancer, with the weight of my body. Or more surprising, that somebody else would entrust their weight to me, I begin to question the presumption that original sin is a valid starting place for knowledge of the world.
A Long Undressing is really the story of my life, but it's told in terms of my relationship to my own physicality, or my balancing the spirituality and physicality. So rather than telling all the events of my life, it's following a particular thread about my own coming and goings with my body. I wish to dance this tonight for Greg, Graham, John, Joe, Bailey, Paul, Lee, Joel, Laura, Neil, Richard, Rangi, Arthur, Tom, Warren, and Victoria. Being HIV has given me the permission to find what I really want to do in life, the things that are most important to me. It's enabled me to get rid of a lot of things that were perhaps sidetracking me, and it's really made me focus and learn for myself what I most want, and that can change sometimes. Sometimes I want to be a famous choreographer, other times I want to just have a quiet little cottage in the country, and really being attuned to those changing desires. And when you're living under the throw of the virus, I suppose, you get very clear about your ability to listen to that.
The Heroic Gardens event is in its second Hero Festival, and more than 900 tickets have been sold for 23 private garden tours. What better place for an interview than on a free floating platform halfway up a sycamore tree? So tell me, what is Heroic Gardens?
Heroic Gardens is a collection of gardens, like gay and lesbian owned and gardened gardens. And they're basically, Heroic Gardens is just kind of a fundraiser for Herne Bay House. We decided to kind of do this, and this was basically is actually GABA, the Gay Auckland Businessmen's Association, and also kind of like the fifth season, which is the Gay and Lesbian Garden Group.
Peter Brady is an Heroic Gardener, and he lives with his cat, Eric.
I could go to your place and I could let him out and he wouldn't go and go bush or anything. He'd just wander in and look around and wait for me, you know. Wonderful nature. They arrived about 18 months ago in a big terracotta pot I had down in the garden, and I spotted them. I thought, oh, what's going on here? And then gradually the colony built up, and there's been actually 12 swarms that have left the colony in that time. And then at the last November, one lot stayed, and they attached themselves to my piece of sculpture, my Nuera stoned sculpture, and they're just growing and growing. I don't know what's going to happen, but they're, wildly interesting, marvellous things, and it's a real privilege having them in the garden. See, there's not very many there at the moment because that swarm's gone, but it'll build up again and they'll swarm. I gather there's seasons as well, and they'd get it all over and done with and established before the winter came in.
And this is where the new queen comes and the old queen has to bugger off.
Yes, exactly, yes. The old queen's got to leave the nice pot and go and live and camp outside on a piece of statuary around there.
Peter was a florist for 28 years and grew up in the small town of Waihi. What was it like for you growing up as a gay man in a small town? I mean, did you always know that you were gay? Or?
Yes, I think I did. But I had I sort of just mixed in and muddled along with the rest of I sort of, you just went along with it, and then I sort of gradually gathered up some gay friends around about, and it always seemed to be that they were sort of a bit arty. They paint, or they're gardeners, or they're potters, or not all of them. Some of them just plain funny people.
Have you ever had any sort of homophobic experiences?
I had a few guys gang up on me one night, and there was one of the local boys from Waihi there, and he got me out into the car and away I went. But that was a local lot in another town, so I whether they sussed out that I was gay, but it was a straight dance, of course. That's all, But that's about. Yeah, it was. It was really scary. The old gay scene was very much bars and clubs, and these days it's much broader based. Yeah, well, we're everywhere doing all sorts of things, sports and arts and everything. Just like any other part of the community, basically. It's full spectrum.
2 days before F Major was due to show, it was pulled. So what on earth happened?
Basically, it was a silver tower that crumbled, because, or a gilded tower, if you like, because it was an incredible organisational feat to get it there. And I think two of the organisers who concepted the whole thing were a little out of their depth. And so as we neared the day, there was a lot of kerfuffle happening. And I think in the long run, an event that big needs organisers and people who are used to doing that type of show. And, when you're out of your depth, it shows. And that's why this event has crumbled.
Well, I'm feeling very disappointed. I've come all this way and I've arrived here, the church, and nobody's here. Nobody's told me that the event is not happening. The organisers have not told me anything about it, and I've put an awful lot of my time, which is, as you know, it's very valuable at this time of the year, and it just seems to be no show. Yeah, so I'm quite angry about it.
I'm really upset. I was looking forward to F Major. It was a dream come true for me, really. I was going to be doing an all-male wedding party, and with St Matthew's as the setting, it was just perfect to pull that one off. It was, something I've wanted to do for a long time, and this was the thing that allowed me to do it. So I'm just upset about it. Yeah, it's such a shame that it didn't happen.
Well, I say to them, that's what happens when it's being organised by people who aren't used to communication among that many people, and there was a lot of people involved in F Major. It has nothing to do with the Hero Festival, because this was being organised independently. And I think it's just a shame.
Well, I'm left at the church, waiting in the lurch.
Next, the parade, the party, and happiness.